but not for work much. I usually work from home, so it's good to get out and be amongst people.
It's a beautiful day.
Yeah, on such a beautiful day, right? It couldn't be any better. So welcome and thank you for taking the time to attend today. I'm sure you are busy, but we'll get to the meat of our material here. And I know they've had a long week of wellness stuff, right? So you're probably ready to learn something fun and new and different. So what I like to do all the time, I know we have a little bit smaller group, but we'll still do it. We'll introduce ourselves or yourself, and I'll do it as well. I never ask you to do anything I wouldn't do. With an adjective that describes you using the first letter of your first name. When you're ready to shout it out.
Can we do it for other people?
That's funny.
Yeah, that's a good. I might have to add that.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think we get. Give yourself like, okay. So my name's Bobby. I'll say I'm bossy.
Okay, I have to leave.
Sometimes I say bold, but bossy sometimes comes out as well.
These two are L's. They're both likable. I'm just gonna answer for somebody else.
My name
What about
is
me,
Jess.
Pat?
So, Jess, could you be joyful? You seem
I could
pretty
be. I could be
joyful.
joyful.
You
I
seem
can be
pretty
jazzy.
joyful. You seem
What?
jazzy.
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 Jazzy's a good one
I
for
like
you.
jazzy.
Jazzy,
Jazzy.
jolly.
Jolly.
I feel like that's
Jolly.
Jovial.
Jovial.
Jovial. I should say crazy stuff.
So we have Lisa, and are you both Lisa?
Yes.
So
Which one,
likable.
Lisa?
What else?
Lisa.
Lisa and Lauren.
Lisa and Lauren.
Yes.
Yes. Good answer for
How about lovely? How about
Lucky. All
yeah.
right.
Right. Are you going to get
Lucky
Powerball
to
tickets downstairs?
Ooh, I got mine
Neither
yesterday.
are late.
Lucky to wake up.
No, right.
Neither are.
That would not be one that you want to use. I guess Bossy's not good. I should have come up with it. All right, who didn't go yet? We need one more.
Come on, Jess.
Oh, Jess did. She had a
I
few.
was joyful, jazzy, and
Jovial.
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 There you go.
Because
What's
one word's
Karen?
not enough.
Kind.
Kind with
Oh, I have you snowed.
I only know you as kind.
There you go.
I call you Miss Nice.
Oh, there you go. Nicole is
What about
nice.
Nicole? Oh, nice Nicole.
Nice.
Ivana said crazy.
But he's not. I'd call Colvin. I mean, no. Just kidding.
We can, so it's just something fun to get started with, because I know when you leave from your desk and you come into a room and you're about to do something that's a little bit different, it's nice to just kind of change the vibe a little bit. So that's all that's about. But it's nice to meet you all and your adjective. So we'll start off with a question. I love to ask questions, and I love interaction, and I love to answer questions. So anytime, a little informal, but I find a lot, it's very useful when people ask questions, because it's usually something that everyone can benefit from. So don't hold back. If you want to ask a question or you have something you want to add, please do.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So you're saying yes to the questions. Do you ever find yourself craving unhealthy foods throughout the day?
Always. Give me those Cheetos.
Yeah, wanting to look and feel good without living on a diet.
Yeah.
Wishing you could lose some extra weight.
Yes, please.
Okay. So far so good. Lacking sleep. You ever find yourself tired or lacking sleep?
What's sleep?
I guess we have that one checked off too.
Mhm.
And needing more energy.
Yes.
Okay. So that is all of the reasons why you're here today, and what we're going to talk about, a lot of those things. So we'll also talk about why diets don't work. Does anybody have anything before I show you what I have to say about it?
I could say I've lost 1,000 pounds. Because I've lost the same 25 pounds. Way too many times.
Yeah.
So
So that's
I
part
can
of
be your
the,
example.
yeah, that's part of the reason why diets don't work, is because people typically gain the weight back. Why do we think that is?
Because it's a temporary.
Yep. And so they're often extreme measures and they lack balance. So it's either, completely one-sided, like, okay, what's the newest thing? Keto diet. So don't eat any carbs at all. Pop up your fat. Okay, you're going to do that the rest of your life? and let's not even,
Wanna
begin
hurt
to
that.
think about, right, the other issues that it causes, because of course there's a safe and healthy way to do keto. It was not designed for what it's being used for today, in my opinion, but it's, there was a safe and healthy way to do it, but I know a lot of people I know are eating chicken wings. They're eating fast food burgers without the buns. So, they're clogging up their arteries. And not only that, but, introducing all these really unhealthy versions of the fats, where it's not like they're eating avocados and, grass-fed beef. They're out there, garbaging up on junk food and food that's just bad quality. So, diets typically tend to be extreme and take you out of balance. I mean, we weren't designed to just eat one macro. There's many things that we can eat, and we should enjoy all of them. Most of them do not consider your unique needs. So diets, that's another reason why diets fail, is because every single individual, I know I have a lot of friends that, have been on diets and that we've dieted together, or that even individuals that I've coached through weight loss, to find out that, every person's unique needs are completely different. I have a really good friend that, we trained to run the half marathon together. I don't eat at all before I run, even if it's 13 miles. I just never needed to. She would never make it. We're exactly the same height. We're not related, but we're exactly the same height. We weigh almost the exact same, on the scale, but our body chemistry is completely different. She gets low blood sugar really quick. I could go forever. And that's a good and bad thing, on both ends. So yeah, we're not, everyone is uniquely different. So it's really important to eat in a way that is unique to you. And not, so when you follow a standard diet, whatever it is, whatever fad thing or trend that's going on right now, it's not being kind of vetted for your personal needs. And that's another big reason why, you end up back at that place where you're like, oh, I gotta do this again. A few diets tackle core issues. This is probably the biggest one for me anyway, and especially with the way that I coach clients. Core issues like keeping blood sugar balanced, improving digestion, and balancing overall health. So when I talk about overall health, that's probably the area that I work in more than anything, is the fact that we look at diets and weight loss, but what are we doing it for? What's the underlying, must or want or need that we have? And if we address that, typically the food and the exercise piece come along easier. I won't say easy, but more naturally, more organically. So when these are some of the reasons why traditionally diets don't work. That kind of touched on that already. Lifestyle and stress. Stress would be something that I feel like is, so if I asked you all right now, are you on a level from 1 to 10, what would you say your stress level is? Not at this moment, but in your life in general.
Come on.
I'd say 6.
10 being highest?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd say 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at a 5 now, but
Good for you.
recently wasn't.
Five
Through effort,
Yeah.
let's be honest.
Yeah. So if you did you do your own thing this morning?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's why I said not right at this moment, because I knew it was probably stress levels should be down because of that. Now, so the reason why I bring that up, and stress is such a key factor in our body. We are, primitive beings. We have that fight or flight response to things. And so what I think we've all adapted really, so no one said 10, but most likely we're probably more stressed than we are saying, simply because we've adjusted to it. From a, physical standpoint, where we have to be able to withstand it because life has become extremely stressful. So your body, though, internally, and the way that, it affects your hormones and all the bodily functions, doesn't know any better. It doesn't know whether you're being chased by a lion all day or whether you're, have some deadlines and things that you're trying to meet and your kids to pick up and, bills to pay and whatever those other things are that are causing you stress. So internally, things are shutting down, like digestion and vital functions that need to happen so that your body can be healthy. because of that stress. So once the fight and flight kicks in, the rest of the things are suppressed. A lot of bodily functions are suppressed so that you can handle whatever's going on. So, that's been part of our, genetic makeup for as long as there have been human beings. So what you want to start to do, and again, just somebody handing you a diet does not address how to minimize and kind of curb your stress so that you can start to really heal those bodily functions and processes to allow you to properly digest and assimilate foods, and then ultimately become healthier, most likely address all those things that we talked about in the very beginning. So what would we say our top health goals are? Anyone have a health goal? Anyone set a New Year's resolution around their health this year? Yeah, it's more.
Sleep better.
Sleep better, I love it.
You've been talking.
I know, it's wishful thinking.
Yeah. Does anyone struggle with immune issues? Or how many of us in the room are, consider exercise as part of their lifestyle? Good. Okay. So sleeping, perhaps some other like weight loss. I think we all agreed earlier. I heard just about everybody talk about weight loss. So these are some of the things that can be addressed through making some clean eating changes versus going on a diet. So if you have any of these things as top health goals or top of mind issues, we can definitely, we'll address some of that today. And again, if there's something that I'm not, that comes up for you that you want me to explain, please add or just speak up. So facts on weight loss, we experienced that right here in the room. 30% of Americans are trying to lose weight. Another 30% are trying to maintain weight. 2/3 of those who lose weight on diets gain it back within a year, and then 98%, that's kind of discouraging, right? Of dieters gain their weight back and more within 2 years. Do we all know people or have experienced that ourselves?
Mhm.
So let's talk about, we'll get a little bit more into the whole health concept, so we're going to move away from just diet and losing weight and move more into health and lifespan. James Fries, it's pronounced Fries, but I always want to say Fries when I see that. It's pronounced Fries. He studies longevity and habits, and I really found, I've dove into this pretty recently, and it's really some cool information. The health span has increased, so our, as a species, we're living longer. But morbidity has increased. So the end years of our lives are not, we're not well. We're spending them in nursing homes or just not well. And quality of life is really, after a certain age, really going down.
Is there like a stat? I apologize for interrupting.
No.
Is there like a stat as far as the morbidity, like what it used to be? So say it was 6 months, but now it's 2 years. Like, is there?
In the study that I just read, it wasn't a specific stat like you're saying,
Yeah.
but I'm sure it's available. They said that people are living the last 30 years of their lives. Typically. So what he talks about, and I found it really fascinating. I've just dove into this recently, but I had to include it because I love to bring like totally new stuff. It's really cool. What he was talking about, let me just get my head around it before I say it. Listen to it, and I've also read about it. What they talked about was that it used to be, you can rectangularize the survival curve.
Mhm.
So when you make these changes, keeping your ideal body, literally these 3 things right there are huge. Okay, ideal body weight, avoiding tobacco, and adding exercise.
Yeah.
Instead of, so they say you would live to a point and then just
Right.
die off, instead of living, and then down slope into, sickness, which they say it's 30 years, where
Yeah.
the average American is living 30 years in a very unhealthy way.
Yeah.
Sickly.
Like a compromise.
Yes, because of the rate of chronic disease. I mean, just diabetes alone is a huge factor, and that's a, it leads into so many things, and we'll definitely talk about sugar. So that, it's this whole concept of, he did mention, but he didn't say, compared to this or compared to that, but they did say that the average American are living 30 years in a state of chronic illness.
Wow.
Yeah, it's sad. So, our brain and body deserve to be fueled and not inflamed. Inflammation is a huge, factor in just about every chronic disease right now. And inflammation is highly controlled, not always. I mean, there are some conditions or things that are outside of the area of food, but mostly food can play a huge role in keeping body inflammation down. So learning to make small changes. So that's all the bad news. We don't need to live there. We just need to know about it, right? Learning to make small changes for long-term results is what the whole clean eating movement is about. I mean, first of all, as everyone here has heard of clean eating, right? You know that's been.
Can you just refresh their memories?
Yeah, clean eating is definitely whole food based. So it's eating foods that are not processed, that are single ingredient. If it happens to be more than one ingredient, they're things that you can absolutely pronounce, but not from a box or any sort of factory food. It's pretty, to keep it very simple. Learning to make these small changes, and that does sound for some people. So let me just ask, how many of you guys are already doing that? Eating non-processed the majority of the time.
I mean, I try to stick to the exterior of the grocery store when I go instead of getting stuff from like the aisles where there's boxes or whatever. But yeah,
Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
Yeah, I don't think I eat a lot of processed
No?
stuff. I can't sure. I don't know what exactly. I just ate those little blueberry things.
Yeah, that falls into the area of processed food. Where's that package? Go get it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read that.
I bet it's already been.
Yeah, so even if I'll say, and depending on where you are, so everything is based off of your personal needs. Like I said earlier, it's your unique needs. If you are a person who eats, 90% processed food, and you go to, make some lifestyle changes and you move to eating 50% processed food, well, that's a step in the right direction. You know what I mean? Again, the whole concept and where I spend my time working with clients is, we can't be perfect. And trying to strive for perfection is what causes what? More stress, which causes what? Less, productivity, less time that you have actually, having your body being in the healing phase versus the fight or flight phase. So, anything that you can do, and this is, again, where I'm here just to help you kind of regroup on and around those concepts. So achieving balance in the machine that is your body by giving it the right food for fuel. So these are the solutions. Food is the ability to change every aspect of life, body and mind. What we eat, the food that we eat, actually carries an energetic signature to it. So as we're eating things that maybe are not humanely raised and processed into our food, that stuff all kind of matters. And again, like I said earlier, if you're shopping the perimeter of the store 90% of the time, or 70% of the time, 50% of the time, it's still like, let's slide that in the direction of health and healing. Same thing with the way we're cooking our food. Like if you happen to microwave everything, maybe start steaming the vegetables. Give the microwave a little break. I try to use it for minimal reheating when necessary. If it's something that really doesn't reheat well another way. And I hate stuff on my counter, so I really taste it now. So when you eat the right foods, these things will happen for you. You will lose weight. Up to 4 to 5 pounds can come just from around the waist. Typically, when you're eating the right foods, you'll feel satisfied, and those cravings, which was one of the first things on our list earlier, tend to really, subside when you just start eating the foods. When your body is getting the nutrients that it needs, then the cravings are diminished. What are cravings? They're signals usually from your gut, because there's some sort of imbalance. And if your microflora are off, if you have a increased amount of harmful bacteria and a decreased amount of beneficial bacteria, the harmful bacteria like all that stuff, especially, let's call a spade sugar. And so whether it's carbohydrate, I mean, who's craving, sometimes we crave a steak, but not often, right? And who's craving, a chicken breast, or who's craving broccoli, it's because that you probably have some semblance of an imbalance in the gut flora. So when those unhealthy gut bacteria take over the healthy bacteria, they want more. And they're trying to build their own army. So you're going to get those cravings for sugar. It only takes a few days to minimize that, but then it takes a lot of time to actually build up the healthy bacteria. So you will sleep better and have more energy when you start to eat better, because what's happening, again, a lot of it goes back to the gut, but your body is absorbing the nutrients that you're eating, giving you that energy that you need to get through the day, to sleep better, to be truly healthy. It strengthens the immune system for all those same reasons. Inflammation gets reduced, and skin definitely makes a big difference. And I think I mention skin all the time because often we don't realize that even dry skin, our skin tells so much about our condition. Dry skin, whether you have like skin conditions, acne, psoriasis, all those sort of things, usually starts also in the gut and when you're eating a lot of processed foods. A lot of times when you clean up the diet, you will also clean up, the skin conditions will improve. The skin is the largest organ in the body. You all know that? Yeah, so it really is. And it has its own whole, process that needs to happen in order to keep it healthy. And so that's where, if you've gotten to the point where you're seeing things on the skin, you can pretty much, there's a really good chance that there's something going on somewhere else that is causing that. So why is cleaning, we talked about cleaning, but why is it so important? So what happens to the processed food and all of the things that we consume that are not being used and assimilated healthy, like the toxins and things like that? Sugars, alcohol, chemicals in our soda or the boxed foods.
It's a horrible visual.
Yeah, it
It's a
is.
horrible visual.
I know.
Actually, where it all goes to is in the fat cells. And they call what they call abnormal fat, which is like the brown fat. It's so structural fat is what gives like the shape to our face, is we need it to like cushion our organs and support, and for our brain. Brain is really, it prefers fat for fuel over sugar. So structural fat, and so the brown fat, or it's actually metabolically active. It has its own, whole series of activities that go on, all triggered by hormones. But when you have an excess of the brown fat, in order to eliminate it or start to utilize it for fuel, you need to really make some, just kind of trick your body. We'll say it like this, just to not get too far into it today. Trick the body up a little bit. So if you have been eating a certain way and you make some significant changes, all with just basic clean eating concepts, and you stick to it for a period of time, usually a week or so, you'll start to be able to access that brown fat, especially if you're keeping processed sugars to a minimum or avoiding altogether. The one thing that happens then, I think too, and people may not realize this even when they're dieting, especially if they're cutting carbs, that you might not feel well. Because what's happening is as you start to release the toxins that are stored in the fat cells, other things happen. And again, it's unique to everybody. It can be headaches, it can be not sleeping, it can be, a myriad of things. So just being cautious of that, when you start to shift towards eating healthier, if you don't feel well in a few days, it's not because of the healthy food. I hear that sometimes. People are like, I felt great until I started eating these vegetables. And now I feel terrible. Like, oh, you just gotta chill for a minute. Drink a lot of water, start to process a lot of these toxins out of your body. There are some naturopathic type remedies and supplements and things like that you can take to help ease those essentially detox inputs when you shift to a healthier eating plan. So why do I bring that up and say something so gruesome and scary? Because, if you really were to embrace this concept and then you say, oh, that girl's crazy, now I feel worse. That's what's happening. So you should feel good about it. It's a good thing.
So that normally takes like
like 3 days to a week.
Yes, yeah, yeah. And
Well,
then,
probably
again, because
depends on
everyone's
the level.
different. Yeah, and it depends on the level of your toxicity. It also depends on how much sugar you have stored and how long it takes you in your metabolism. Individual metabolism is a huge player in that.
What if you don't have a metabolism anymore?
Well, you wouldn't be sitting here. That would be really sad. We'd be having a whole
I
different
feel like I lost
conversation.
mine.
Yes, it may have slowed down, and that's highly possible. But the coolest,
Yeah.
yeah, the coolest thing is you actually can reestablish it. You can really bring it back. It's not, it's not as difficult as you think, but it's also not a cookie cutter thing. You have to kind of figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you.
Is it true that diet works, or not diet, won't say that word, but there's certain foods according to your blood type?
There's a lot of research behind eating for your blood type. I recently started working with a naturopath, and I didn't even realize from my own, blood type that I was not eating enough protein. So it definitely made a difference when I increased my protein, because I started to lean more towards vegetarian or vegan food, which I really enjoy, and my skin and stuff felt better, but I noticed my metabolism was a little bit slower when I did that. So I started talking to a naturopath about it, and I realized I had to increase my protein, go back to eating some more healthier versions of protein so that I could, it definitely factors in. Even certain vegetables, there's I actually have this big chart. It's like eating for your blood type. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, and it'll go through all the different macronutrients, and they're color coded by the blood type, so you can kind of see what to lean towards. And I say it like that, lean towards, because again, that's only one theory. So of course, no wonder we have such a hard time, right? No
Right.
wonder it's so hard to stay healthy and eat right and be, fit or feel like, you're in a body that you enjoy, because there's all of these things to consider, So again, I tend to investigate with a lot of other professionals and practitioners to try to get the best thing for myself. But yeah, I've recently I knew about it. I knew it had been around for a long time, but the blood type thing it's pretty cool.
Can I mention something about that?
Absolutely.
I actually have a little bit of experience with that myself, and a naturopathic doctor also mentioned this to me years ago. And, I had also been wanting to lean more toward like the vegan, vegetarian way. And we had in my household for many years. And then when I got pregnant with Elsie, my body just wanted something different. And it was so interesting that at that point, I started just eating intuitively. I just started listening and paying attention and trial and error. And it ended up being exactly the diet that the blood type diet was suggesting. So are you a B?
Oh,
you're no. Oh, that sucks if you're trying to eat.
right. Yeah. It was really not good.
Yeah.
And a girlfriend of mine is a vegetarian, and she's an O, and she keeps gaining and gaining weight. And we work out together all the time. And we have coffee, and we're close friends. And I don't know what else to tell her.
Yeah,
You know what I
it's
mean?
tough.
Like she won't, it's an animal thing for her, and she won't, and I understand, but it's like, I don't know why. And so she didn't have a problem with that until she got into her 40s. And so like Nicole just said, though, like you got pregnant with your daughter, and your body literally does, in 7 years, your whole body regenerates. You can either make it healthier or you can make it sicker. You know what I mean? And that happens, and people don't realize. And I know Britt, my girlfriend, is very, she's adamant about it, but I'm just like, you gotta find a way. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. So yeah, it's something to really definitely consider.
It's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And so we talked a lot already about sugar, but I can't go without mentioning that, sugar is pretty much poison, especially just processed sugar, white sugar, really devastating to our bodies. It's devastating to our brain. It's devastating to just about every function that we have in our body. So if you're a person that is really, a sugar lover, chocolates and candies and cakes and all that kind of stuff, even if you're big into like white processed flour, it's really important to take a good hard look at that and do your best to kind of wean off, find some substitutes. And so next week when I'm here, we're going to actually bring some food in, and I'll show you some cool things that you can do to avoid that. So it's not like you can't have sweet things or baked goods or stuff like, you can still have that stuff. It's just a matter of making it in a way that is whole, clean foods based. And I found that it's really not that hard to do that. My husband is a sugar addict. And he loves all that stuff all the stuff that I make. Yeah, he goes on and off. The people he works with will tell me that he's eating cookies and stuff. And sometimes I think they're just trying to get him in trouble. But other times he's like, oh, yeah. He said, we just recently, went back to this whole sugar thing because I have a program launching next month. And he's like, I go to these hospitals, he said, and there's, because he works in hospitals a lot, there's nothing but cookies and pies and cakes. He said, it's torturing me. And I said, look, mister, I said, we have 300 bottles of wine in this house and I'm not drinking them. I said, so buck up, get over it. I said, I'm not drinking, you're not eating sugar. Like, just get over it. Do it. If I can live in this house with a wine collection, you can go in the hospital where there's a donut on the table. And the truth is, it really is. So you mentioned earlier about how long. So after about 2 to 3 days, you've really gotten most of that out of your system. And again, it depends on your metabolism, some sooner, some later. After that, it's no longer a physical thing. It's an emotional thing.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother talk. We can have it, but we won't have it right now. Because I don't want to keep you guys late. So the toxins there, we talked about, they end up in your fat cells. Definitely disrupt your pH, your body's pH, your acid base balance, your mitochondria, the gut, which we talked a lot about. And it results in pain, inflammation, and you can think like things like bloated face, hands, acne. Do you ever eat at a restaurant and the next day you can't get your jewelry on? Or you can't get your pants buttoned, or you just look in the mirror and like, whose face is that? It's because the food is so processed and it's so injected and so highly, it's everything to make it sweeter. And I would guess that probably, 80% of the food in a restaurant has sugar added to it, where there doesn't need to be sugar. Because it's that craving. And what does it do? What makes you want to come back?
So when you're talking about toxins, are you also talking about things like where, something is grown organically versus, using pesticides that might be.
Those are definitely
lingering on produce.
Yeah. New Dirty Dozen was just came out.
I saw something about spinach, kale, and strawberries.
Strawberries are always on there. Apples are always on there. Spinach is always on there. I just had it up for my lunch yesterday. Yeah, it's there's only myself and my husband at home, so I just shop only.
Yeah.
And it's some stuff I don't like. Avocados at times they don't always have them, so I'll buy regular. When it has a harder, rougher shell, it's a little bit less likely that it's as contaminated. But at the end of the day, let's be really honest. We're using glyphosate on everything in this country. It's illegal in the UK. It's
Tell
illegal
them what that is.
glyphosate is Roundup. It's the chemical that they use for killing weeds.
And it's also really why there's such a gluten problem. Gluten isn't really the enemy, but the fact that gluten has been so contaminated and the grounds, and it's everywhere. You can't get away from it.
So you're saying that they even use that with organic?
Well,
No,
even they don't use it in organic. They don't actually use it, but it's in the water supply. It's in the earth. It's in our toilet. it's everywhere. So I would bet you, even if we measure, just like anything else on our nutrition labels, right? There's an acceptable amount of what is it? Even like arsenic. There's an acceptable amount of arsenic in our food that doesn't have to be. There's probably I don't even want to know what that is. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's better off not to know. But yeah, it's pretty much. And so when I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just saying, the toxins can also be things that man has caused to food. What we've done to genetically modify food and help our crops to grow longer. It's getting back to some real basics around that. Again, that conversation can be another whole lot. Yep, it's pretty big. So when we eat clean, we pretty much can manage all of these things. Decrease inflammation, balance our blood sugar. When we balance blood sugar, it really does help with weight control. Blood sugar is probably, in my opinion, it's one of the number one reasons why people struggle with keeping weight off. It's because blood sugar spikes. Eat clean and live clean. So to your point about, back off on the non-organic, do your best. I tell people to shop and eat the highest quality food they can afford. And if you have to pick and choose, look at the Dirty Dozen list. buy those things organic as often as you possibly can. And then,
What's the
you have
dirty
to-
dozen list?
It is the list of the
Should I Google?
produce that is most highly contaminated or tested for pesticides. Josh Axe had a really good. His is so good. His lists are always so good. So if you go to Josh Axe's website, you can find a nice version of it there.
So what's your recommended cleaning method?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I've seen so many things. I tend to use like a little bit of peroxide in the water. I've used vinegar. It really depends on what's handy for me. Vinegar's in my kitchen, so it tends to be the number one go-to for me. Do you have anything that you use specifically? And I buy almost everything organic, but
I only use a little bit of lemon essential oil actually.
I've done that.
Especially with fruits and vegetables because it just gives it like a nice crisp,
Mhm.
clean, even
Yeah,
doesn't take
lemon
away
essential
from
oil
the
is great. I have done that. I've done it with the vinegar or not. Yeah, you could. If you look that up, there's a million remedies out there, and they all seem legit to me. I've never seen anything. I was like, no, do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they all seem
Windex.
legit to me. Yeah, I know. And you
It
just
just
don't add another
salt.
chemical to it.
You don't need to buy like
add
the
salt.
products either. I really
No, you can use vinegar has been really good too. It kind of shines stuff up
In
too.
the old days, people would really
So,
really salt.
Increase.
I pulled up the list. So it's
Mhm.
strawberries,
Really?
spinach, kale,
Yeah,
nectarines,
liver.
apples,
I
grapes,
think nectarines is good.
peaches,
I saw
cherries,
those.
pears, tomatoes, celery, and potatoes.
Yeah, I was surprised about potatoes, but I did.
Yeah.
That hasn't always been. I think
No,
that's
I don't
relatively new on the list. Yeah, I was surprised when I saw that yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if Norman sprays his trees.
I hope not. That'll make me sad.
Jess and I pick. There's an orchard in Cheswick or something that's amazing,
They have all heirloom apples. So like
Mm.
stuff you cannot get in the store.
and they have blueberries and cherries and they grow everything.
Yeah, I think cherries used to be on that list because I'm a huge fan of cherries, so I was devastated
It's
when
still
that
on there.
They're on there
okay,
still.
okay. Yeah, I was like, man. So there you go. That's the list to definitely buy organic if you can. If not, make sure you're washing them. Make sure you're washing them. Huge benefit of doing that.
Can I say one thing else about that, Bobby? We just live in a toxic world. It is what it is. It's almost it's not possible to fully get away from it. Cell phones are toxic, like to the brain. We can't live in fear.
Yeah.
And so you do what you can, right? You shop off the list and you exercise, you make sure you're sweating, like pick a couple days a month where you're eating clean and not drinking for a couple of days.
Yeah,
Like there's
detoxification.
totally like
Huge.
just spend a couple of days every month doing that, and help your body to manage it better. But because there's nothing you can do to completely eliminate this
Right,
stuff
right.
completely.
Absolutely. No, I'm glad you wrote that out because we were going down the rabbit hole. It's starting to look really ugly. Not only is it raining, but we're toxic and we're all gonna die. No, that's a really good point. And absolutely, that's totally the way I live my life too. Just detoxing, like I said, I'm doing right now with my husband. We both are just decided to do like a little detox thing. And just, he's off sugar, I'm off wine. We're just taking. No, we aren't eating out for 30 days, like all these little things. It's just these little things that we do. I mean, it felt like in the beginning when we said we were going to do all this stuff, we're like, oh my God. And we're like, oh, look at all the time we have to do other stuff. They're just taking a little different. I mean, we can never control everything. But yeah, that waves. And learning how to create nutritious meals is really important. So if you're not one to really dig into cooking, there are ways that you can do it really, really super simple. I even have a meal plan you can buy online. It's super easy. That just gives you what to eat, grocery list, and everything. So it's really not that complicated. But learning to create nutritious meals, really makes sense rather than just relying on having to go out every day and look for something healthy. Learn to kind of work with ingredients that are pretty healthy, that are easy to get, affordable, easy to cook, easy to store, great place to put your efforts. And then, ultimately ditching the diet mentality for everyone because we all know diets don't work. But yet, first thing we do when we feel like we're a little funky is like, I gotta go diet. We know that doesn't work. The definition of insanity. So Whole Foods, the idea behind clean eating, is like we mentioned earlier, is Whole Foods based. So just looking for food, eating foods that are just what they are, one ingredient. all the things that we mentioned on the drink test list, but anything else like, chicken, steak, salmon, there's tons of options for eating whole food. There are even some things that are sauces and stuff like that I do, some canned things like canned tomatoes, canned tomato sauces, and things like that. Just look at the ingredients, make sure there's not a lot of stuff in there. When you start looking at labels, if you haven't already, make sure you have your glasses on. Now I'm 46 years old, so I can't look at labels and have my glasses. And they make them small on purpose. So just look at the ingredient list and see if there's stuff in there that you can't pronounce. Just kind of, turn to the next one and look for something that doesn't have. And anything that ends in OSE is sugar. It's a form of sugar. So not just in, we talked about most of this already, not just the food, but we're looking at across areas of the physical and emotional. Looking at stress, looking at, how you can take any physical stress out of your life, any emotional stress out of your life. There are people in your life that tend to stress you out. Sometimes we can't get rid of them. Sometimes we have to just learn how to manage them. Or in the Aikido way, you just move out. You let them come and you just keep moving out. And then we really consider emphasizing health span versus lifespan. So they actually, have you guys heard about telomeres? It's so cool. I don't know, I really want to get mine tested and I haven't seen where, but I just started reading about it so much. You can get there. So telomere is it's at the end of the gene of your genes. So it's a little molecule or whatever on the end of the genes. And it actually, when your telomeres are gone, is when you're no longer alive. So they now have been able to measure the telomeres on the end of the gene. And they have been able to show meditation is huge for increasing the telomere length. Up until very recently, they didn't realize that was even possible. They just thought it was something that, as the time ticked and it went away, that's just, your lifespan changing and you eventually, pass away. But what they've found that as people change diet, lifestyle, decreasing stress, increasing things like meditation, mindfulness, consciousness, they've actually shown that you can grow that telomere. Mark Hyman, who I follow all the time, is a functional medicine doctor, interviews a lot of people on telomeres and whatnots, but I listened to the podcast recently, and he himself went from I forget what the lifespan was. It was maybe 50, it increased by 30 years, his telomere length. It's pretty amazing. He also had a SPECT brain scan done that also improved his, so just by changing and doing some of these practices, especially the yoga, meditation, the mind-body connection type exercises have a huge impact on it. They've done it with people that just meditate. It didn't even change anything else about their diets. And they've shown that it's made a huge difference. And that they attribute that to stress, the stress reduction. So there's a plug for meditation. So focus on, so when you're talking about why is it different, why is clean eating different than dieting, it's because we're talking about, really think about increasing your health span versus just your lifespan. Of course, we all want to live long, but we want to live long in a way that we have quality of life and everything while we're here. This is all the same stuff. What action can you take today? Can you clean out the refrigerator and the pantry? Minimize, if not.
Marie Kondo.
Yes, call Marie Kondo, bring her over. Let's bring you joy. Is this box of macaroni and cheese joy for you? Get rid of it. Clean out the refrigerator and pantry. So that's an easy thing to do. I do it all the time. Sometimes stuff sneaks into my pantry. I have a 21-year-old daughter. And I remember when she's a stepdaughter, and so when she first moved with us, she would say, when we go to the store, she was 11 years old. When you go to the store, will you get whatever, 3 pebbles and Kraft macaroni and cheese? She's asking me to get this. No, I can't. It's just well, that's what I'm usually. I'm like, you're gonna eat. You're not gonna starve. Don't worry. I said, we're not gonna eat that stuff here. And I got that. This was terrible, but I did tell her. I was like, I'm a health coach. I said, if people see me in the store, I said, I can't have that in my cart. It was just the easiest thing. I just can't. The only reason I could explain to an 11-year-old why I couldn't have this stuff in my house. I'm like, and that was. That was it instilled it right away when she said, I'm like, oh no. You know? And then when I do run into somebody in the store, even if they're not eyeballing my cart, one of my clients I ran into one time in the store had donuts, like a bag of like from the deli, and she was so trying to hide from me, and I'm like, look, I don't care. I'd say, stop doing that. Like you're making yourself stressed out. You know, she was hiding from me. You know? So yeah. So clean out the
Look out over here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she was devastated. But you definitely can do it. I mean, you can make homemade mac and cheese. You can do, you know, there's a lot of things now. Tons of stuff with cauliflower. Maybe we'll do that next week. I'll think of some cool stuff to do. Cauliflower is like the best. Love it. I made mashed cauliflower with no last week.
Don't knock it until you've tried it.
Oh my
It's
gosh,
so
my
good.
favorite thing in the world. My
Don't
husband
knock it
don't.
until
He
you've
won't
tried
eat it. He's such a fan.
What's your favorite thing?
Mashed cauliflower.
You can grind it up and eat it like rice. And my kids eat that and they think it's rice.
Yeah, you don't know any better. Can't really use it to make sushi, but you can use it. I wish I could. Begin shopping only. We talked about this and it came up right away earlier today. Clean eating is all about shopping the perimeter of the store. There honestly is not much in the aisle, other than some canned things, and now they put the bone broth and stuff in the aisles. But other than that, it's really completely possible to get everything you need by not going in the aisles of the store. And you'll save money because that's where they put all the tricky stuff too. All the sale that they want to get you to buy extra of. The 10 for 10s and whatnot. And then begin a daily practice of conscious eating. So I just wanted to leave with a few things that you can definitely just start to do that will, you know, set you in the right direction while you figure out what works best for you. Daily practice of conscious eating is thinking about the fact that I want to eat, setting an intention to say, you know, I want to eat clean today. And for some people, that's a lot to say. You can say, I want to have my next meal, I want to have a really clean meal. Or a snack. My snack, I'm going to have clean, all my snacks today are going to be healthy and whole food based. So you can start anywhere, but just start with something. And little by little, as you start to feel better, you start to make additional changes as they fit into your lifestyle. And there have been a ton of research done that says that clean eating is more than a diet. It's about disease prevention and improving your digestion and metabolism. So it really does improve overall health. It's not just about weight loss. It'll definitely contribute to increasing your health span in your lifespan. So if anybody's interested, I will offer mini coaching sessions, and when I do that, it's just something. I usually tell people to call me or schedule, and then when we talk, I like one thing that you want to work on, and we'll zero in on that so that you can leave that conversation with something. So I left time for questions. If anybody has any questions or wants to, comment on anything, feel free. I know we talked a lot during presentations.
So is all frozen food bad, like frozen vegetables and frozen fruits, or is that
No,
still
frozen
better?
is, yeah. Frozen
than-
is better than canned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
How about steam? Like, in my steamer bags?
Well, the reason why
Yeah.
I'm really freakish about plastic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm just really freakish about that. So you're cooking it in there in a microwave. You know what I mean? It's like you're just inundating that. By the time you're done with that vegetable, there's not a lot left of the nutrient value at that point. And I know it's quick and I know it's convenient to do that. But honestly, I steam all my stuff I don't even have like a steamer. I just old school throw a pot. I steamed my cauliflower last night for the mashed cauliflower. Put some bone broth this much bone broth in the bottom of my pan, cut the cauliflower through the neck. I was eating in 30 minutes. That's steaming it, processing it, seasoning it. The chicken sausage was cooking at the same time. 30 minutes, flat dinner. So really, because we are so used to pushing the buttons, throwing it in the microwave, whatever, it does not take that much longer to do it. It is a little bit more work. So to your point earlier about the food prepping, instead of doing a full-on food prep on Sundays, what I will do, and what is an easy thing, is to take my neighbor told me this, and she's not even healthy, but I was like, wow, what a great idea. I don't freeze my food anymore when I buy, like my meats or my proteins that I'm planning on eating for the week. I keep them in the refrigerator. Because what happens is I usually forgot to thaw them. So I got to dinner time, I was like, crap. But you can cook any meat in under 20 minutes. So if you don't have it frozen, that's a huge step in the right direction. Have an idea, and even if you do make a meal plan, that's kind of good use of time. And then have the vegetables that you're going to make during the week too. Make double batches so you have some extra for lunch the next day, and pre-cut them at least. Like when I buy the head cauliflower, which I usually do because I don't want it in a plastic bag, which
And
is
it's
sometimes
cheaper.
it's still in plastic and it's cheaper.
It's cheaper.
And I do cut that because that does take a few minutes. So that will deter me from making the mashed cauliflower if I'm going to rush for dinner. So I look at that kind of stuff, like what is time consuming? What part of this meal could I make easier by prepping that on Sunday? And then if I'm making broccoli the next day, but I happen to have to cut my cauliflower, I'm going to cut them both at the same time. I have the knife out, I have the cutting board out, so just grab, and if the carrots are sitting there and I'm waiting for the chicken sausage to get done, I'm going to cut those too. You know what I mean? So, I just batch cook that way instead of this whole meal prep day that now my stuff is a week old and I cooked it on Sunday. I don't want to eat it on Friday.
It's
Oh,
not
thank you
because
so much.
told me I used my
That's okay.
next Friday.
No judgment.
Are you videoing next Friday?
I'm also not going to be here next Friday, so Bobby and I have to talk about that.
Okay.
Well, but
Right, thank
hopefully.
You're welcome. Have a great day. Yeah, so if there's any other questions or comments, frozen stuff is not, we shouldn't include that with the store. It's usually close to the edge, though, if that helps. When they do put the frozen vegetables, they're usually, so yeah, frozen is not as bad.
So they sell like organic frozen vegetables.
Yeah.
So there are
And fruit.
options that are, yep.
Mhm. I feed my dogs that.
What's the best alcohol drink should you be?
Let's get down to business.
The jury's out. A million, if you Google that, like 90% of it's going to say clear vodka.
Gluten-free vodka, like Tito's.
Tito's.
Or
yeah.
Stateside, which is
Over
local.
red wine.
Mm.
Because of sugar.
Sugar.
But red wine, and the people will say reserve. I always say that wrong. Resveratrol, whatever it is, in red wine.
Reserve. I know now I
Yeah.
can't say it.
Yeah.
Resveratrol or
Resveratrol. I
resveratrol.
think that is more like the way. But anyway, but you need to drink like a barrel of wine to get enough resveratrol to, because it's like curcumin and all that. Like you're better off taking a supplement. Now I'm a huge red wine drinker, but it just, again, no. I don't even like to say moderation because I'm so sick of hearing that, but it's like detoxing. I feel like that's even, that's a decent, like if you're going to have a weekend, like it was my birthday last week and I drank and ate all weekend long. So this week I was like, oh my gosh, and you're ready for that too, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just knew, like,
So I think you got to
give your
practice up
body-
into it.
yeah.
You can't
Detox
come into
before
a
you
weekend
detox.
like that cold.
No, sometimes you gotta warm up.
Right, you gotta-
Well, I have the whole
you
winter
gotta
season to
stage
warm up for it. It's every year in March, so I know it's coming. Yeah, so you can definitely, with alcohol, there's no health, reason to have alcohol. We have it because we do. And I think just being smart around it, using good sense. And if you do overindulge at any point, just do your best to really, because your body just needs, in your liver, needs to, recover. Yeah, I had trouble with that. It was a little sluggish because starting before the holidays all the way through, and now it's New Year's, why not? So yeah, it's just a good idea to give it those rest days.
What about sparkling water? What if you drink a lot of it?
A lot of
that-
it. I don't know any. You're basically like,
You mean like
There's no
LaCroix type of
calories.
stuff?
LaCroix or just San Pellegrino? Or,
yeah, I recently started drinking a lot of it, and I never liked it. I haven't drank soda in 20 years, but my naturopath told me to start drinking sparkling
Oh,
water.
good.
Now I'm hooked on it.
Some of them have a lot of mineral
Yeah.
content.
Yeah, it's
Like a
mineral waters.
Verstaminator, that one that's clear, that one has a lot of, I do know this, a lot of mineral content, which most humans are deficient in minerals
Yes.
because our soil.
Macronutrients are depleted in a
Mhm.
huge way. Yeah, we've overabused it. We don't allow it to really.
Does it still give you the same benefit of drinking as much water as
Regular
you're
water?
supposed to?
Yeah, it doesn't really. As far as I know, and I'd have to research that more. But I've never had. I don't think that there's a. sparkling water versus water. It's the carbonation. If there's I would imagine, you'd have to look at your pH along that line. So if that was causing your pH to be too low, because wouldn't that be basic because it's carbon? Just trying to go through the science here. So that it could be something to look at.
Would that cause acid reflux too if you're drinking a lot of it? Or no? I don't know.
That's a good question. I don't have a solid answer for you on that. Do you have an issue with that?
No.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes.
Okay.
If I feel like if I that's my sister's response. All three of my sisters like, it's because you're drinking so much sparkling water. That's why you don't feel well. I'm like, I don't know if that's. I don't believe you.
Yeah, I'd have to.
I just don't have anything to back that up.
Yeah, I'd have to look into that a little bit more. I'm not positive about that because the more I think about it, I'm on the fence as for an answer. But it's purely my opinion about it too. So it's just like your sister answering.
Well, and I think also, like anything, you just have to listen to your body.
Mm-hmm.
And so I drink, myself and my family, we drink a ton of sparkling water. My daughter loves it. She calls it special water. We drink it all. We drink the flavored version from Whole Foods, LaCroix. We drink it all. And none of us really have an issue with it. But and reflux is one of those things, like it's very temperamental based on the person.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, don't drink it for a couple of days and then drink it and see.
Yeah, that's good advice. And yeah, because you're right, based on for some people it's not enough acid, sometimes it's too much.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the confusion around acid reflux in general. There's so much crap out there about it. There's so much medication for it, which actually causes it usually to be worse. It's kind of like depression and thyroid conditions. Same thing. Everybody's on thyroid medication, but no one's losing weight. They all went to the doctor because they were gaining weight. So the doctor says low thyroid, they get on thyroid medication. Do you know anybody on thyroid medication who's lost weight? You know what I mean? They don't. So it's that same concept. It's like, is that really what's going on here? Or is it possibly something else?
My sister found out she had a hormone imbalance and she lost 15 pounds by fixing that.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy.
Yeah, that I can definitely get behind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hormones rule the world.
Mm-hmm.
Rule your body. Stress.
Mm-hmm.
And food rules your hormones.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we're talking about food.
But if you intuitively feel like that's not what it is, it's likely not. You just have to literally trust your gut.
Certainly. Anything else?
No,
Very
thank you very
helpful.
much.
Ready to go back to work?
That was great, Bobby. Really, thank
It's a
you.
pleasure. I'm glad y'all could make it.
Ready to eat clean.
That chili looked awesome.
Will you tell them what you're going to do next week?
So next week I'm gonna do. I'll bring some food in. I'll have it already done. It's too hard to write down, but I will show you some clean eating alternatives for very popular. If anyone has any suggestions of something that they'd like to see, redone, I'd be happy to do that. If you don't have it off the top of your head, just make sure we know by
Pizza.
Monday. We could do pizza. That's easy. There's a few ways to do pizza that are healthier.
With a
Cauliflower.
I want to hear about
You say cauliflower crust.
That's a
Yeah,
thing.
I want to hear about your take on cauliflower crust because I've tried to make it so many times, but it's always been a fork and knife kind of pizza whenever I make
Yeah.
it. It's not one that I can pick up.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's
Yeah.
just you have to, it doesn't always. Now, they sell one at Trader Joe's, but it has flour in it. You know what I mean? So that's
totally
totally
cheating.
defeating the purpose. But you know what I also say too when it comes to pizza, which I actually prefer. I like cauliflower for a lot of things, but I don't like it for crust. I just don't. If you're one to do tortillas.
Yeah.
Find the seitan or whatever they're called. I'm the worst pronunciation. Yeah, or seitan.
SEITA.